Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Asian Filmist. My name is Ray and I love movies. And the movie we'll be talking about today is a 2008 Japanese horror film, Tokyo Gore Police, directed by Nishimura Yoshihiro and starring Shiina Eihi. And it honestly lives up to the title. It's one of the bloodiest, most disgusting movies you can ever watch to come out of Japan. And, to be honest, when I first watched this way back when, I didn't really have the stomach for it, but then you kind of watch Nishimura's other films that follow Tokyo Gore Police, and then you kind of slowly get desensitized to everything. And then now going back and watching Tokyo Gore Police again, I absolutely love it. It's definitely one of my favorite films of this particular subgenre, the subgenre being super ultra violent, gory splatter horror, and there's a lot of them to come out of Japan, and Nishimura is definitely one of those names to look for if you're looking for films from this particular subgenre. So the story of Tokyo Gore Police, it's quite simple. Basically, it takes place in an alternate world Tokyo where the police is privatized instead of belonging to the public. And because the police is privatized, it kind of puts them in this domain where they can do as they will at the blink of an eye if they wanted to. But then while the police is protecting the public, there comes up a new threat by the name of engineers. Engineers are essentially these type of superhumans that whenever they get an injury, whether it be a cut or a dismembered limb, out of it grows a weapon. And these police are constantly fighting these engineers. They don't know where they come from. And one of these police officers is Ruka, who's played by Shiina Eihi. And she's a badass with a katana. And as your stereotypical badass with a sword female character archetype goes. And so she is essentially the only hope the police force has against these engineers. And so let's talk about the positives I felt that were in Tokyo Gore Police. First, it lives up to its name. It doesn't hold back at all. And it does everything with seemingly no regrets. It's violent, it's bloody, it's perverted, and if you're into all of that, this movie delivers in spades. I mean, when a body part gets chopped off, for example, it doesn't just from the camera's point of view, it just doesn't get chopped off. The character raises his dismembered arm to the camera and says, look at my arm, while fountains and gallons of blood spray out from the wound. It's to the point where it's a bit cheesy, but then you kind of go into this movie expecting that kind of atmosphere, and it doesn't take its blood, violence, or gore seriously at all. It really plays around with it. I mean, it's kind of weird to say that to talk about a movie that plays around and has fun with its showcase of gore and violence, but that's essentially what Tokyo Gore Police does. And if you can kind of switch off your brain, if you can accept that kind of violence in this movie, then you'll have a great time. With that being said, I really enjoy the special effects that were featured in Tokyo Gore Police. It's kind of the same techniques as producers would utilize for making tokusatsu work, for like Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, and all those superhero and monster flicks that utilize rubber suits. Tokyo Gore Police utilizes those same techniques to deliver some of the effects that bring the engineers to life. And for me, as a fan of tokusatsu, I really enjoy that aspect of this movie. And on top of that, Ruka, Shiina Eihi's character, is badass. Anything that involves her in the movie, in the story, it's wonderful to watch. Not wonderful in the sense that she's a great actress. I don't think she's a particularly great actress, but as an action heroine, she has a presence that the story needs. Another thing I really like that really sets the tone for Tokyo Gore Police is that in between different scenes there are PSAs seemingly created by the police, just PSAs that kind of promote self-mutilation, or even suicide. Like, it says oh, cutting yourself is fun, so here they're advertising this new cutter, and it's just like, what the hell's going on? It's really dark, the kind of content that the movie showcases, but the way they paint it really kind of really sets the tone as to how this movie is approaching violence, and that is, it doesn't really care, it doesn't take itself seriously at all, everything is really tongue-in-cheek, and it's just really bizarre. Like, if you were to watch these PSAs and on its own, you'd be like, what the hell? What's going on? But then you know the kind of tone that the movie is trying to approach when you take those into account. And as far as the negatives, I felt that we're in Tokyo Gore Police. Well, as you can kind of guess, this movie isn't for everyone. This movie is made for those who just love bloody, disgusting movies. It's not really meant for your average film goer. Say if you're looking for a genuine horror, action, thriller type of movie, this movie, you watch a Nishimura movie to get a Nishimura movie. And I really don't know how else to explain that. I guess folks like me, if you watch anything by Nishimura or even Iguchi Noboru, you know the kind of hyper-violent movie that this is going to be. And if you're into that, this movie is excellent. If you haven't seen any of those films and you don't really know what you would get yourself into, probably not recommended. Another negative I have to say about Tokyo Gore Police is there's not enough Sakaguchi Taku. Now, if you know who Sakaguchi is, he's like, I don't know, king of B movies. He does action really well. He's in a few action films. You might know his face if you've seen some of his other movies. For example, some of his bigger movies include Shinobi, Why Don't You Play in Hell? But he's been in other smaller movies of this particular subgenre. For example, Dead Ball and even Battlefield Baseball. But Sakaguchi Taku's appearance in Tokyo Gore Police is more of a glorified cameo. He's in really one action sequence. But as a fan of Sakaguchi, I felt, this movie could have used more of him because I absolutely love him. But then again, it's kind of a selfish negative to put up against Tokyo Gore Police, but that's just my personal taste. And so overall, about Tokyo Gore Police, as I said earlier, it lives up to its name. You watch this movie expecting a really violent, bloody, disgusting, perverted, splatterfest of a movie, and you watch expecting that, and you will not be disappointed. You shouldn't really watch this to get a movie that gives you some kind of deeper message or some kind of moral story. This movie, there's no morals really to be learned from watching Tokyo Gore Police. It's just gratuitous violence for the sake of being gratuitous, and it has a lot of fun with that. And for me, as a fan of that particular subgenre, I love it. Do I recommend this movie? As I mentioned earlier, if you're into these kinds of movies and you have a really strong stomach, then yeah. If you don't mind seeing dismembered limbs, decapitated heads, close up to the camera. I mean, the dismembered heads, you can tell that they're props, but then you still get to see it up close with fountains of blood. But then if you're not into this type of subgenre, then probably not. Probably wouldn't recommend this movie for you, unless you're looking to transition into becoming a fan of this subgenre. But yeah, me personally, yeah, love it. And so yeah, those are my thoughts on Tokyo Gore Police. What did you guys think? And what kind of questions do you guys have? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Asian Filmist to hear more reviews and discussions on Asian films. You can even follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and you can follow me on Twitter at Raymaru555. Alright guys, thanks again, and I hope to see you guys again in the next video. Take it easy.
獲物は確かにいただいたぜ。